Alrighty guys, hi, it's Amanda. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, go ahead and subscribe. If you're returning, go ahead and give the video a like or a comment down below. Whichever one you like, they always help out the channel. Today is going to be a little bit different, and I am going to provide a couple of disclaimers, so if you don't want to listen through that, fast forward probably about a minute. First disclaimer is, yes, this is a copy from Robert Welsh and his Makeup Mondays Telling Ghost Stories. I have thought, before anybody comes for me, I have thought about sending my story into him. However, this spans over about 7 months, and it's going to take even at least 2 parts for me to discuss. So I don't feel comfortable doing that at this time, so I'm just going to take advantage of my platform and provide my experience and my story. 2, sorry if the creases in the backdrop bother you. I'm just trying to see how it looks and if people like it. If it turns out to be a hit, I will iron those out. So if you have OCD, I apologize. And that will be it for the disclaimers. So if you can tell by the title, this is gonna be a story in me explaining my experiences when I lived in a home that was haunted. And I'm going to provide the people involved in the layout of the house before I get into the story today. So there were 5 of us in the house. There was myself, my husband's brother, a friend of mine, and a friend that we shared together who was initially deployed when we first moved in. And then we also had our dog, Chewy, who was a lab pit bull mix. He was approximately 8 months old when all of this happened. So we all were kind of in a situation, we were 20, 21, we were all in the situation where we were needing to find houses to live in because either leases were being up, my husband was able to get off base at this time. So we all discussed that we were going to get a house together and all contribute that way. So we started looking for houses on Craigslist because this was before Craigslist was really weird and creepy. So we found a couple of houses and we had done a few viewings of the houses. We ended up picking the house that was in a larger housing development in the town we were in. It was safe. There were a lot of good reasons. It had a big backyard. It was a big house. The rent wasn't astronomical. We lived close to a beach, so a lot of the rental properties are super expensive. So we found this house and we did a walkthrough. Looking back, I realized I felt a little weird. I didn't feel scared or anything like that, but it wasn't no feeling. There was some kind of feeling when I walked through, but again, wasn't anything really at the time to take note of. So we went ahead and we rented the house. Now the layout of the house was, it was a 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath. So when you entered the front door, it was an open floor plan. So you immediately could see the living room, the dining room, and part of the kitchen because the kitchen did wrap around. Right next to the door when you entered was a half bath, so just a toilet and a sink. And then over to the left of the house was the 3 other spare rooms and a full bath. And then on the far right side of the house from the kitchen was a little laundry room, and then through that was the master bedroom. So if the master bedroom door was open and the laundry room door was open, you could see into the kitchen and part of the living room. I hope that makes sense, and it does come into play in a little bit. So we all moved in except for the one friend that we shared that was not back yet. So we were getting settled about a month in and nothing really had happened. However, after about a month and a half, weird things would start happening, really small weird things. Things would get moved. The TV remote was one of the most infamous items to get misplaced from whoever was watching TV last or anything like that. It wouldn't be in a normal spot. We always tried to leave it on the coffee table. Oftentimes it would end up over on top of the entertainment center, or it would end up in the couch somewhere. A couple of times it ended up in the kitchen. It would just move. And we would always, when whoever was going to look for it, we would always ask everybody, hey, did you watch TV last? Where'd you put the remote? And then we would all look for it and find it. of course, we never thought anything of it. At this time, there were 4 people living in the house, and we all worked. So we were all coming and going at different times of the day. So it was weird, but it wasn't anything to catch us off guard and like make us feel like something was going on at this point. Another thing that would kind of happen in the beginning was our dog would stare off into things, or he would kind of run and chase after something that we didn't see. We just kind of thought he was being a weird little puppy and didn't think anything into it too much. A few times as things started to kind of escalate, a few times he would wake up in the middle of the night and be growling, and he was not an aggressive dog whatsoever. He was super friendly, so that was weird, and we would always just kind of talk it off like, okay, he must have just had a bad dream, or something startled him. Maybe somebody came home and we didn't hear it and he did. Like, we would just try to play it off like something totally normal. We weren't thinking, and keep in mind, we all did believe in paranormal, and we still do. But we weren't thinking in that aspect, you know? So things would just go as normal. Weird things like that here and there would happen. Sometimes some lights would turn on or turn off, but nothing too alarming. Things that you could easily explain away with having 4 adults in the house. Well, then our mutual friend came back from his deployment, and he moved into the house with us as well. So now there's 5 adults and 1 dog. And during this time, things kind of picked up to a point where we were like, okay, we're not here alone. First, what had happened was my husband's brother, and I'm sorry if that's annoying, but I don't want to use people's names. My husband's brother had gotten up to make a snack, and we had our bedroom door and the laundry room door was open, so we could see into the kitchen. And as he was making a snack, he had left the fridge door open, and the fridge door shut on itself. Now, I know that you may think, well, that's kind of common. A lot of fridges can shut on their own, which is true, totally, and I get that. But this was an older fridge that didn't have the self-shutting, and it had usually stayed open. Like, this was the first time any of us had ever seen it shut on itself. So that kind of got our attention. We were like, all of us didn't say anything to each other, but we were like, we saw it from our room, and Jake's brother we saw him turn around, kind of look at it like cockeyed and be like, well, that was weird. But none of us thought anything really of it. So a few minutes later, he went to get something out of the cabinet from the kitchen, a dish, and he was very bad at shutting things behind himself, obviously. And that cabinet door was open, and as he set it down on the counter, it slammed shut. All of us saw it, and so my husband's brother kind of turned around to look around to see if anybody was playing a prank on him or anything, and he made eye contact with us, and we were like, well, we can't really explain that now, can we? We just had a little weird back and forth conversation about it. So then what happened was, trying to debunk it, they both started messing with the door to see if it was maybe an uneasy hinge or if the AC had caught it. And every other time it would stay open. No matter what position, whether it was all the way open, partially open, just a little open, it would not slam shut like it had. It wouldn't even shut at all. So that was kind of the telltale sign, because then we all started talking. We're like, have you experienced this? You know how the remote ends up in weird places? You know how this light gets turned on and off randomly? We just had those kind of conversations. We were like, okay, well, I guess, we're probably not in the house alone, but none of us were fearful. None of us were, feeling threatened or anything like that at this point. So we just kept going on with our lives, and weird things continued to happen. It started to escalate a few months later when my husband's family came and visited us. My friend that was living with us had not been in the house, and they were staying in her room, and it was his 2 younger sisters and his dad and his stepmom. They had all visited, and the little girls were put down for a nap, and we had kind of told them, you know, some weird things that were going on, just kind of catching up, and they thought it was funny and they made fun of us a little bit, which was fine, wasn't a big deal. So, however, when the little girls got put down for a nap, like their second day there, first thing that happened was the hallway light was being turned off and back on its own. Everybody was in the living room and could see the hallway, but not the light switch. So we thought it was the little kids playing around. So one of his parents went and checked, and they were both asleep. They were dead asleep, and they had left the door cracked open so we could hear them, because now they're kind of weirded out after everything we've told them that we were kind of experiencing, and then for that to happen, they were a little on edge. So they left the door cracked. The next thing that happened was about an hour later, one of the kids tried to get up, and we could hear her calling us, and she was hitting the door. Well, the door had shut and it had locked. Both of the little girls were asleep during their nap. Like, we all asked them multiple times over the next couple of days if they had gotten up and locked the door, and they said no. It wasn't a situation where we were really thinking that they were lying. We just wanted extra clarification to make sure that we weren't kind of going crazy. So at that point, we're all kind of weirded out, because something locked them in the room, and they were two little girls sleeping. So that threw all of us off. And from that point on, we were all kind of freaked out. Although we still hadn't felt threatened, we were still, it heightened our, us paying attention to things going on. And little things continued to happen. But the next part I am going to tell in another video. And with this part, it does get a little weird. It does get super creepy. It does get, you know, if you're a skeptic, you'll probably be able to pick it apart in some ways. But what my husband did was told a friend who was into ghost hunting. And so we have some actual audio from some things that we did, and I'll discuss that as I tell the story, and I will link that down below in those videos. But in today's video, I am going to link Robert Welsh, because he's where I got the idea to go ahead and tell my story. If you enjoyed my story, let me know. If you've experienced anything like this or strange, leave it down in the comments. Otherwise, I will see you guys next time. I hope you're having a good day, evening, or night, wherever you are. Bye.